Hello, and welcome back to our Ladder PhD program for residential roofing structures. In this fifth lesson, we will reveal some of the available ladder accessories that can assist with transforming a multi-purpose extension ladder or articulating ladder into one which is much better suited to the one and only task of incline roofing system access. This will bring us to our seventh barrier to risk-managed ladder practice, being that the benefits of ladder accessories cannot be fully appreciated without at least some practical use of these tools. Now, there are in fact a couple of dozen different types of ladder accessories on the market, all of which add value to our goals for improved access and safety. But for the sake of time, our focus will be on the 8 that we have tested and found to be the most useful. We will begin with the LadderMax to emphasize the fact that this device provides a greater return on your investment than any other ladder accessory we have tested. You wouldn't know it just by looking at it, but the LadderMax represents a super tool of sorts that performs 6 distinctly different functions to expand our access options and prevent our ladder from slipping out of place, which, by the way, is the leading cause of ladder-related injuries. Using the LadderMax, we'll begin by attaching it to either the second and third rungs of your ladder for roofs that are greater than 7/12 pitch, and the third and fourth rungs for roofs that are of 7/12 pitch or less. An important detail to note in order to decrease the transition distance between your ladder and your landing area. Now, from my own personal experience with this tool over the past 10 years, I have found a one-story set with a 16-foot ladder is relatively simple to accomplish. A two-story set with a 28-foot ladder is significantly more taxing, yet still something I believe most of us could accomplish and well worth the effort. But a 3-story set with any 40-foot ladder is a task that most would find impractical, if not impossible, with standard setup practice because, simply put, the application of 7.7 pounds to the top of a 72 to 140 pound ladder and then lifting it into place from its horizontal ground position is a very dangerous action to attempt. And one final point that I need to make before moving on to the 6 positive attributes of the LadderMax is that extension ladder locks depend upon gravity in order to remain in place, which means if the base section of the ladder slips backwards while the top section holds fast at your landing area because of your LadderMax accessory, gravity can't do its job, which means your extension ladder locks can potentially disengage, a dangerous condition that is easily remedied with the application of a cam strap to guarantee your ladder remains in the lock position while in use. So the first attribute of the LadderMax is huge because it allows us to secure the top of our ladder to our landing area in situations where cam straps, bungee cords, and ladder locks simply will not work. And this alone would justify its purchase price because it removes a mountain of risk that most of us are forced to accept on a regular basis. Our next attribute would be a higher fulcrum point, which will greatly reduce the amount of ladder position above our landing area that is load sensitive. And this in turn will lead us to our third attribute, being a much shorter and easier transition stride, because without our LadderMax, our transition will require stepping from a rung below our eave. However, with our LadderMax, our choices now include 2 rungs above our eave without fear of kickout. Our fourth attribute is directly related to what is probably our most common ladder resting area, a soft metal or vinyl gutter system which is easily damaged when our body weight is combined with our ladder weight. The Ladder Max will provide the option of damage-free ladder use and expand our options for access on every house. Our fifth attribute is a significant increase in the resistance to lateral slippage, a conclusion that we came to after testing an unassisted extension ladder against an aluminum gutter with a 200-pound working load positioned at the eave to simulate a human body. Here we found that it only took 9 pounds of side pressure to initiate a lateral slip. This was followed up with a similar test, yet this time with the application of a Ladder Max, and we discovered nearly 10 times the resistance at 87 pounds of side pressure. And whether you realize it or not, this is quite an amazing stat for avoiding the leading cause of ladder accidents. And finally, with respect to kickout, which is probably the most impressive feature of this accessory. Now, I literally have no idea just how much weight on our top rung it would take to get a Ladder Max assisted ladder to kick out. But let's just say it's more, a lot more. In fact, while discussing this topic with the actual manufacturers, who had completed testing that included placing 1,200 pounds of pressure on the top rail of a Ladder Max secured ladder without a kickout occurring, well, let's just say they didn't know either. Now, for a more complete wrap-up before we move on, I will add that we also tested the aluminum Werner accessory, which we found to be quite useful as an elevation standoff tool, yet not nearly as good as the Ladder Max as a roofing standoff device, especially on our more common low slope access situations that left our ladders resting on the gutter rather than the intended tips of our stabilizer's bullhorns. Okay then, let's now move on to our Guardian Safe-T ladder rails, a tool that finally allows us to comply with our ladder manufacturer's safe use guidelines by taking away our need to step outside the ladder rails to access our landing areas. This accessory has a weight of 13.32 pounds, or nearly twice the weight of our Ladder Max, that will also be added to the top of our ladder, which equates to longer setup time and an increased level of difficulty to lift your ladder into place. Please note that Werner also provides a version of this tool that is roughly 3 pounds lighter, which may be the better option. However, it remains one of the many tools that we have not yet tested. Both the Guardian Safe-T ladder rails and the Werner walk-through ladder extensions will be attached to an extension ladder in similar fashion, which means extending the first 2 feet of a ground resting ladder, sliding them on, and locking them in place. Due to the additional weight of this accessory, setting your ladder will most likely require lifting it upright from the top end before moving it into place. Double story sets will require attaching your rails, then flipping your ladder over, which will prevent the need for flipping once it is upright. Positioning your ladder base up against some solid structure like this concrete pad, lifting your ladder upright from the top end, raising your fly section, and then sliding your base back to an optimal 75-degree angle. Once again, as with our Ladder Max, allow me to warn you about the solo set of this accessory attached to a 40-plus foot ladder. Remember that setting up any 3-story ladder without any attached accessories, without someone else's assistance, is quite physically challenging in and of itself. But add 2 feet of preset length and an additional 10 plus pounds to the top of that ladder, and you will have effectively doubled your factor of difficulty. And with that said, let's move on to the attributes of this accessory, which, as mentioned earlier, begins with the ability to keep our body centered between our rails and avoiding the risk of having to step around them. Another feature of this tool is that it will increase the length of our ladder by 3 feet. A very useful aspect which would allow us to access an unusually tall single story with our 16-foot ladder or an exceptionally tall two-story with our 28-foot ladder. The third and quite possibly most useful aspect is the means to eliminate the inside rail for unhindered access to the lower slope valley or hip ridge areas of roofing. An access technique that is greatly enhanced when we combine a single rail with the power of our LadderMax. And lastly, not a common usage technique, yet one that will certainly present itself from time to time, a greatly simplified access transition over a gabled peak. The next item up for discussion is the pitch hopper. That's value goes beyond that of just a ladder to roof transition step and well into an aggressive pitch mobility tool. But if you're looking to take the edge off that first step away and last step to your ladder, then this access tool can certainly do that for you. Here we have combined it with a ladder extension rail and a LadderMax stabilizer for what is probably the most accommodating transition point that you could ever achieve on a 12-pitch roof. I would strongly encourage anyone who is considering the use of this product or any ladder accessory to give serious consideration for the manufacturer's product use recommendation, which for the pitch hopper would be to only use it on clean and dry composition shingled surfaces, to not exceed its user weight limit of 250 pounds, to not exceed its 12-12 45-degree maximum pitch limit, even though you can find many examples of people online who do. And one final point I would like to make with regards to the manufacturer's recommendation to only use this product with an approved personal fall protection device, which is a good rule to follow from the user's perspective. An excellent way to limit liability from a product manufacturer's position. In fact, almost the very same recommendation that we see from the company who manufactures Cougar Paws, the slip-resistant boots that were designed to walk on composition roofing surfaces. Point being that if you should decide to be one of the many who is willing to accept the risk of using the pitch hopper without a rope access system, personal fall arrest system, a fall restraint system, work positioning system, guardrail system, netting system, or any other OSHA-approved fall protection, well, you should at very least have a good understanding of how this product works. At first glance, you might notice that the pitch hopper has two leading edges with different angled surfaces, one of which will provide you with a nice 90-degree platform on a 9-pitch roofing surface, and the other a 90-degree platform for a 12-pitch surface. The load that you apply to this device should be straight down and centered, not at the pitch angle of the roofing surface you are working on. As you can see here on this 11-12 pitch, a straight down step that is well centered will force the foam pad to grip on the surface granules, a function that doesn't work nearly as well with an angled step or with any non-centered foot placement. Next up is our ladder leveling leg extensions, for which there are a couple of different types. So let's begin with the ones that are built into some of the ladders on today's market, as with these extension ladders and articulating ladders from Werner and Little Giant. However, there are also two different types of leveling leg extension kits available as an accessory that you can install onto the base of pretty much any extension ladder. The first of which comes in a kit with two mounting brackets, one for each leg, but just one leveling extension that will lock onto either of the two brackets when needed. Point being that you would only require a leveling adjustment on one side of your ladder at a time. The next type would be 2 leveling extensions, one for each leg, that will be permanently mounted to your ladder. Both versions have a 375-pound duty rating, are adjustable in 3/16-inch increments, and come with nail holes to secure the shoe assemblies in place. My personal preference between the two would be for the single leveler on mounting brackets, for the simple reasons that A, the need to level a ladder is a relatively rare occurrence, yet when the situation does arise, this extension can be installed in about 30 seconds to guarantee a proper base support. B, the addition of only 1 pound of bracket weight to my ladder is far preferred to the 10 extra pounds of permanently installed levelers. And C, the bracket mounted version is roughly half the cost of the permanently installed one. However, this is not to say that the permanently installed version doesn't have its advantages as well, which would include A, an additional 10 inches of height capacity to your ladder, and B, the ability to micro adjust your ladder height to achieve the perfect 3 foot of ladder length above your landing area every time without exception. Our next accessory of value is the ladder lock, a 1.9 pound spring-loaded clamping tool compatible with practically every rectangular frame fiberglass or aluminum rail for securing the top of your ladder to your landing area. This is a highly adjustable tool designed to grip onto a variety of objects commonly found at our ladder's eave resting point, which would include gutters, fascia and framing, edge metal, and yes, even roofing shingles, all of which will not only provide a more secure transition point, but also prevent your unattended ladder from being blown down on a windy day. Our next accessory is an absolute must for anyone who wields a ladder on a professional level, and this will be a quality strength-rated securing strap that will serve functions going well beyond attaching your ladder to your vehicle and well into securing your ladder in place from the top to the base. And let's not forget the seldom recognized necessity to keep our extension ladder's locking arms from disengaging. Some of the very best self-locking cam straps that we have found are the Tiger straps that come in a variety of color-coded lengths and have 1,200 pounds of tensile strength with a 250-pound working load limit. Cam straps like these will always be a better choice for securing your ladder than the commonly used bungee cord for many reasons, but probably none more compelling than the high threat for eye injury associated with a product that is known for snapping out of place and providing very little indication of impending failure. Our next item up for discussion is probably not something that most would consider as in the category of an accessory. However, it certainly is because it allows us to transport the very best access ladders in a safe and secure manner with very little threat for damaging these tools, which could total well over $1,000 to replace. Unfortunately, many will decide to make do without them for a period of time prior to coming to the conclusion of needing one, which could cause damage to your vehicle, damage to your ladder, total loss of your ladder, or even a serious traffic accident. The very best racks are the ones that are loaded and unloaded from the rear of the vehicle, where the ladders are slid into and out of place, which will significantly limit the amount of lifting force required to move your ladder, rather than the side loading racks that require a full military press of the ladder's entire weight every time you use it. Most truck-style ladder racks are relatively easy to install, with none more user-friendly than the Track Rack, which is made of lightweight, no-rust aluminum, with a working load limit of over 1,200 pounds, can be installed and removed with zero damage or drilled holes into your truck bed, can include a track rail that will allow for minor adjustments or total removal of rack in a matter of minutes, and secure a lockable toolbox as well. Remember that rear-loading ladder racks are of tremendous value for the purpose of managing the weight of your ladders. We can take full advantage of this feature by backing up as close as we can to the point of use, slide our ladders off of the rear support, and place our ladder's base on the ground. Next, we will lean our ladder up vertically and then simply walk our ladder into place one rail at a time. Now raise it, adjust it, then angle it, and what do you know? You just proved that you can use a heavy 2-story ladder without having to lift any more than half that ladder's weight. Now I want you to imagine just how useful this will be when it comes to using your 3-story ladder. But before we close our topic, please allow me to make just a few points about the process that we just demonstrated. Beginning with the act of balancing your ladder while moving it in the upright and vertical position, which seems like it would be a fairly difficult and risky process to perform, but in fact is quite simple and safe provided that it is completed solo and without the assistance of a second set of hands. I would personally compare it to the act of balancing a broom in the palm of your hand, something that most people are capable of on their own as long as they receive no help, or should we say interference, from another person. So if someone should offer you assistance with this process, for the sake of both your risk as well as their own, please make it clear that you politely decline their offer. And for the last of our 8 accessories, I would like to present a base stabilizer that will multiply the means by which we can secure the base of our ladder, which will be of great advantage on all slick areas or surfaces with loose aggregate that threaten kick out, because sometimes the areas where we must use our ladder offers a very poor resting point for our ladder's base. This particular product is known as the Ladder Lockdown, which comes with a nice variety of pins, straps, and connection points to secure your ladder base to maybe not every area where we might have an access need, but certainly and without question, most of them. One of the most attractive yet perilous places to set your ladder are areas of wood decking, or even worse, the slick plastic surface of composite decking, for which even our rubber Trek pads have an uncanny tendency to fail on. But with the assistance of this particular base stabilizing tool, we can drop a few pins through the Lockdown's foundation plate and between the deck boards for a risk-managed solution. If you are looking for another simple solution for deck access and you have some basic construction skills, you can build what we like to call a kickstop, which is basically a precast galvanized framing support attached to a 20-inch piece of scrap 2x4 with a couple of decking screws. Add this tool to your LadderMax accessory and a well-positioned cam strap, and you have just created an apex access point that would hold up to the temptations of oiled Teflon. Okay, folks, this will cover our 5th lesson on the 8 most valuable ladder accessories. But before we wrap up, I'd like to deliver a couple of honorable mentions to Cougar Paws that deliver confidence and stability with our transition step between ladder and composition shingles. Steep Gear Gloves, which I like to call gecko hands, for ladder grip strength and security on pretty much any type of roofing surface. And finally, a complete and well-planned selection of rope access tools that can be easily set in place from the safety of terra firma, providing you with the power to prevent catastrophic fall injuries on all of our high access situations from ladder to roof. And that will do it for our lesson on ladder accessories. We hope this was compelling information to assist you with your safe access needs. Please join us on our 6th and final lesson in our Ladder PhD series on how to develop your own personalized risk management plan.